Really good. I've added so many of the questions and reframed some of them, but added in 80 more. I had originally the 100, as I said to you, and I'm putting those in. And I really do like that. I hadn't noticed the inconsistency of working with experienced leaders and inexperienced, and the new folks are not my audience,
Yeah.
you know. So the reframing of that just was good.
It's
And
such a great feeling.
Suzanne, is Taylor King, a dear friend of mine, has found somebody that can help me integrate, because the person who originally did it has a really hard time going from 1 to 10, and that's what I wanted in the first place. So I'll be working with somebody else to bring that up to the level and
That's awesome.
make the booklet even more professional while in the process of doing that. Yeah.
Yep. We just hosted Suzanne. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, absolutely. We
she's an
just got her
amazing
on the
woman.
episode
Yeah.
as well. So we're in great company.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
She's a
That's
really
awesome.
amazing
Okay.
woman. Yeah.
Yes, it's a refinement process. I think a lot of people overlook the fact that StrengthsFinder is not called StrengthsFinder, right? It's called StrengthsFinder 2.0. It's an iterative process, right? And that's all great things. Goes through a process of editing and optimizations and
Yeah.
things, including us as people, as leaders. So with that said, for the visionaries who are listening in, what what three resources do you recommend that a visionary dive into or look at on their own journey for creating their movements?
I would say, to me, that the first and the primary one to start with is Simon Sinek's "Start with Why."
Mm,
Know
that's a
why
good one.
you're doing what you're doing,
That's
and
right.
when you identify your purpose, it just feeds you the whole way. Yeah.
Read it twice at the same time. It's a good one.
Yeah, there is just so much there that I mean, this is what I help people do anyway, is go back to the why. Why did you form the company in the first place? Because when you forget the purpose, you lose your passion, you lose your vibrancy, and then you're just going through the motion. You're surviving. And I don't care if you're making 100,000 or 100 million. When you're going through the motions, you're surviving.
Yeah.
That's not about living this life we've come here to live, with vibrancy and aliveness, because
Yeah.
that's where the creativity is. And when you're in business, it's all about your ability to be creative, to adapt creatively to every darn thing that shows up on any given day. You have to fall back and regroup, and how am I going to creatively deal with this to take me and my company to the next level? You know?
Absolutely.
And then the other is Key Person of Influence.
Key person of influence.
Yeah, I think by Daniel Priestley. I think it's really important to know that as leaders, we have amazing impact and influence. And when we own it, we can be much more purposeful about it, so that we recognize at any moment we can call somebody to become their best self, to reach for the stars. And at any moment, we can discourage somebody without even recognizing we're doing it.
Yeah.
So we have influence just because of who we are. Own it.
That's right. Absolutely. Do you have another one?
No, that's it. Those are the two. Those
All
are the
right.
two. Yeah.
Well, less is more. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, after the break, we'll dive right back in. We'll be talking about Dr. Dorothy's vision for helping leaders, empowering leaders to expand impact for a better world. We'll see you on the other side, everybody. All right. Welcome in to Vision Pros Live with Jackson Callum. I'm your show host. We will be doing interviews for visionary entrepreneurs and guest leaders who are building fantastic visions out there. Hey, what's up? And welcome into another episode of Vision Pros Live. I'm your show host, Jackson Callum, founder and CEO of First Class Business. I'm excited to have Dr. Dorothy Martin Neville on stage today with me. We're going to be talking about how to empower leaders. She's got an assessment that we'll look at as well. She's been working at this for more than 5 years, more than 20 years. And with that type of experience and timeline, the wisdom that comes from the leaders who've spent more time leading, who've spent more time developing, they've had more chances to go through both the failures and the successes that ultimately help us understand what we can do to improve our vision. So I'm excited to have her on stage. I'm excited to talk to her about that. And before we bring her on, of course, I want to make sure to guide you guys to some materials that can help you with your growth. We have two very interesting sponsors for today's show. One of them is Melissa Gray of The Law Spot. Now, Melissa Gray, I was nervous to bring her on stage because attorneys normally don't have the types of visions that I find very inspiring. That couldn't be further from the truth with Melissa. She understands that legal for businesses does not have to be complicated. She's a nurturer by nature. She does have the ability, of course, argue and do all the things that typical attorneys do. But to be able to connect with me as a human being and our audience in such a great capacity on the show, and to be able to have the skill set that she has, really sets her apart, in my opinion, from others. Now, I had a personal experience with a trademark lawsuit that we did win, by the way, at Restaurant Connect, but it also cost us $20,000 as a startup. I don't know if that's considered winning when you're a startup and you need that type of capital for growth. We didn't do the best that we could on our due diligence for researching who should represent us, and on what counsel we could have already had in place. So my invitation is to you is to interview her while you're also exploring your other options that are out there. Now, in addition to that, we've got Andrew Sosin's program, Recovery Unplugged, up there as well. And this is a sensitive subject. And I think that one of the challenges of our modern society is we gravitate away from sensitive subjects rather than embracing it. A lot of entrepreneurs and, well, anybody in life, you probably know somebody or have somebody close to you that has an addictive personality and could use some help. Andrew has a team of more than 400 people that he's built up over several years. In addition, if you're a fan of Tony Robbins, he's like a super fan of that program. He's been 22 years in a row to Tony Robbins trainings. I was talking to him about a mastermind that he was doing too with Richard Branson and Robert Kiyosaki. Somebody who hangs out in those environments learns a lot about wisdom of growth. And he's taken this program from now a number of cities to a virtual reality, like a virtual experience. That's the silver lining of COVID. A lot of programs became available to more people worldwide. And so we see Recovery Unplugged as an opportunity to help people overcome their greatest challenges in the business world. Sometimes we call it the mind trash. And there's just so many pressures that are on entrepreneurs, that are on business people right now, that are really on everybody. I hope you take the opportunity to find out more about this program and what it could do for your life or your loved ones. I believe they also have a 24/7 call center that can help you understand how to perhaps effectively introduce this to a family member or friend who might find that too sensitive of a subject to approach. Lastly is the Water Project. The Water Project's not a sponsor, but it is a program that I hold dear to my heart on purpose. I've never had the need for this water in my life. I've always had the water that I need, and so I refuse to allow myself to forget there's millions of people in the world who don't even have access to clean drinking water, but we can do something about that. We can actually work with the Water Project, for instance, to help them bring sustainable water solutions to those who don't have it in these communities, specifically in Africa. And you get to choose the community you want to help. When you donate $5, $10 to it, they'll also give you an update of the progress. You get to see the project come to fruition. And the kids in these pictures and in these communities, you get to see them celebrate water like it's Christmas Day. I hope that touches your heart. I hope that if you're in a position where you can't give, but you could tell somebody about it, maybe just share the screen with the person sitting next to you in the airport, or maybe you're going to tag a friend or send this to somebody. You never know. It might lead to somebody giving $100,000 to that project and actually providing water to almost 100,000 people for the next 5 to 10, 15 years. Who knows how long? But that would be my request of you, is to help us give back. And if you know of a cause that you'd rather see us support, then my other challenge to you, an invitation, drop the link. Let us know about the cause. We might not know about it, but we might put it up here next to the Water Project and talk about it. And you never know how far the ripple effect will go for the good activities, the good actions that you take as you strive to serve others. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Dr. Dorothy on stage. We'll dive right into her vision. And everybody that's listening in, if you want to know more about Dr. Dorothy, you can check the landing page out. You can go to the action steps. We'll have those ready right after our show is finished. So Dr. Dorothy, thank you for joining me on Vision.
Yeah. Thank you. I love what you said about the water project, that you never know who you could meet that would have the ability to give $100,000 to that project. You don't know who's out there. We have the ability to influence so many when we believe completely in something.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm a big fan of that. And, it reminds me, I was at an event. I was speaking at an event called Wish for Our Heroes, and we were raising money for veterans. And one of the planned tactics, right? Oh my gosh, we use tactics in the midst of our principles. Yes, we do. Was after we had raised all the money that we could, I took $100 bill out of my pocket personally, right? And said, I know we've all given to the max of our capacities, myself included, all of us have. And sometimes we're in a position to stretch just a little bit further. And I want to do that right now, based on what's happened. If any of you want to join me, I know that the families would appreciate it. I think that led to another, probably somewhere between $4,000 and $10,000, being activated for these families that were in super need. Now, I didn't pressure anybody into that. I just made sure to lead by example and to be ready to do so. We have that opportunity as leaders to learn, how do we inspire others to take bold, effective action? So with that said, I'm done teaching, because this isn't my job to teach. This is your opportunity to teach us. So Dr. Dorothy, what is your vision for those that you serve?
It is truly to bring them back to who they are, to bring leaders back to being the best version of themselves, because so frequently they have an image of who they are supposed to be in positions of leadership. And the moment we start wondering about who we are supposed to be, frequently they can get caught up in imposter syndrome because they don't feel like they're being who they truly are. Because in some ways they're not. They're betraying themselves with the belief that another style of leadership is better, another way of doing things is better than what they naturally would be called to do. And so it's listen to who you truly are. It's usually the best gift you're bringing to your people.
That's powerful. I think it took me 25 years to find that out.
Yeah.
I think I lost that around the time I was 5 or 6.
Oh,
And then I started rediscovering that when I was close to 30 years old. And so, but you don't know you've lost
right.
it. And a lot of times, it reminds me of that movie Hook with Robin Williams, where he's Peter Pan. He's forgotten that.
Yeah.
Right. So, I do want to ask you about the house. We're gonna defer to allowing people to go into the assessment and talk about that. But before we dive in deeper into helping and empowering leaders, what's your vision for you?
Is to just keep growing and expanding. It is, I think life is of it as an adventure. Life is just an adventure that we are on that is always about discovery. And I've never been one truly to live in a box. I live far out of the box. So to me, nothing is impossible. My experiences have showed me that everything I've done theoretically couldn't be done. And it's certainly not done by me. And so it has been just what's out there? What am I called to next? And just running after it and doing it. And it makes it fun for me. And what it does is because it makes me more of who I believe I'm called to become, more of who I truly am, that it brings my best gifts out. It allows me to have the most impact and influence on the people I work with. And I love that.
One of the things I love about you, Dr. Dorothy, is you have the countenance. You radiate the countenance of childlike curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
Not many people hang on to that, and that is so sad. There's people who lose that. But like your eyes, your smile, the way you talk and carry yourself, you're not childish.
No.
Right? There's a difference between those two things.
Right.
You have this, like, I don't want to call it joy because I don't know what's going on inside, but you have this vibrancy about you. What are some of the things that you do to empower that, or to, I guess, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but instill that within your being?
That's a great question. I've never thought about that. I would say that what I do is keep living in the realization that we're always unfolding, that there's no limit to who we are and what we can become. It just keeps going. Years ago, many years ago, I was in a very unhealthy relationship, and I lost a sense of innocence and a sense of awe.
Mm.
And what I decided at that point, when I became strong enough to leave that, what I realized is that I don't ever want to be naive again, but I never want to lose my innocence again. I am taking back my innocence in that awe of the exquisiteness of life, of a beautiful baby, of the joy. And where I live, I come down the mountain every day and look at the water. I live right by the ocean and just think, oh my God, can you believe I live here? Oh my God, this is just so exciting. I feel like a little kid at Christmas, and I don't ever want to lose that, because that to me is what gives the value, the quality to life that I love having. And I don't
Oh,
ever want to lose it again.
that's so cool. That's a vivid vision. That you're living, and there's so many people that are in that surviving mode, that are
Yeah.
they're so far removed from that there's the challenge of one of the challenges of leadership is, like it's like if your child has a birthday and you've had a loved one pass away right at the
Mhm.
same time, right? You've
Yeah.
got to grieve and celebrate, and be able to compartmentalize that. That's kind of a representation of life in general. We always have hard things going on, and we always have the opportunity to celebrate. Choosing to celebrate the good that's there isn't always the easiest, but we might gravitate back towards that in just a minute and see if we can dive into more. I see you emulating it, and what I heard is not just somebody who talks about no limitations, but like I felt it as you talk about that, right? I felt that aspect of innocence, that awe, and I was like, oh yeah, awe. That is something that is easy to take for granted when you have it, but almost impossible to gravitate towards when you don't by yourself. It's so hard to figure out how to tap into that. So, again, I want to return to that. I do want to dive into a little bit of a darker subject, though. Right. In fact, this is a super dark subject. What's your worst leadership experience ever? Meaning the one that you've experienced, could be one you contributed to, it could be one that you've just seen or read about in a book. What does that look like so we can avoid it?
Oh, it's calling your people to be who they're not because of your ego.
Calling your people to what?
Be who they are not
Be who
in
they're not.
order to feed your ego.
Oof. Tell me about that.
That when you are a leader, and we talked about that briefly, that when you are a leader, your ability for impact and influence is massive. And healthy leaders create leaders. When you are an unhealthy leader who has the money or the theoretical power to make a big mark, to make a big impression, and you bring people on board because of their skills or their ability to transform things, and once they are working with you, you decide that who they are is irrelevant. It's all about you. It's all about you, your skills, which are usually limited, but your skills and what you want everybody to do to make you look good.
Mm.
Instead of, I believe every one of us is called to make this world a better place. And if, as a leader, we form a company to make the world a better place according to whatever our vision and our skills are, then we want to bring out the best in everybody working for us, because as a belief, they bring a richness to the business. They bring in a wealth of awareness you don't have. They bring in a view you don't have because they've had different life experiences. And together, you have the ability to bring your vision amazingly out there to the world. And when you believe in it passionately, your people come to believe in it as well. And it becomes their vision. And now all of you have this same vision and you're working together. to make the world a better place in the same way, and you just keep refining it and refining it and bringing in more and more expertise and development to make that happen. When you go to the opposite, to me, and it's the worst type of leadership, is it's about me. I don't care what you think. I don't pay you to think, I pay you to work. And I've heard people say that to their employees. I don't pay you to think.
Yeah.
What a way to destroy all the goodness that person can bring to your company.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I don't pay you to think. The first time I heard that, I was in shock. Like, how? How can you be so blind and be in a leadership position? And so to me, yeah, you do pay your people to think. You pay them to be creative. You pay them, yes, to do whatever you hired them to do. But the more they think, the more they are creative, the more efficiently they can do it. And they may be able to add to their job description in a way you never thought of,
Mm-hmm.
because they are so good at what they do. So let them think, let them be creative, let them expand. Because as they expand, you expand, your company expands, everybody wins.
Yeah.
It leaves me dumbfounded. But yeah, I've seen it more than once, sadly.
Oh, many times.
Yeah.
What's sad is the world often celebrates, and the world at large celebrates good leaders or marks leaders as good based on the external results that are driven. That is the reality of benchmarks and business, is the quarterly expectation, is the earning potential, etc. Really almost at all costs. As long as the results are there, it's hard in the business world to um, to argue with the result, right? That's what they claim. No, it's not. It's
Right.
not. We still have the opportunity to look at that and say, well, who's being sacrificed in the process? And because we don't have to it's not a win lose. Just because I breathe oxygen and you breathe oxygen doesn't mean that, you're stealing my oxygen. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Not with what I'll call proper growth. But I have a challenging question for you, something that came to mind. I don't know the answer to it, but I've faced it many times with different companies. So let's say that we have a new sales rep come in, all right, and they're excited, they're ready to cut, and they start crushing it and doing really
Mhm.
well. And if we turn it turns out that yeah, we haven't called them, we haven't changed who they are based on what we need, but you start to recognize that this sales rep comes from one of those toxic environments where the ends justify the means,
Mhm.
and in addition, they feel like their role is their identity, right?
Right.
That's who they are now. They are that
Mhm.
sales rep. They're going to crush it. They're going dog eat dog world. We're going to fight through this. When that's their view of their own identity, how do you address how do you address that? Do where their identity is kind of in contrast with the culture of the team, and the understanding that your role is great and you're good, but you know what I mean? There's a clash that's going to be
Right.
created amongst team
Mhm.
members when
Right.
bringing some in that's so different and so ready to kind of fight in every opportunity that they can for what they know to be reality. How do you go about educating or working with somebody like that?
I never start with criticism. All
Okay.
right. Because that puts them in defense before you even open your mouth. Right.
Yeah.
So what I'll say is to somebody in that instance, I'm absolutely blown out of the water and completely impressed by their ability to support our company going where it needs to go.
Yeah.
One of the things I have noticed, however, is that I think maybe what's happening is you're losing a piece of yourself in the process of making it happen.
You
This
lose.
company,
Yeah. Go
piece of
ahead.
yourself, this company's style is that it isn't win at all costs. It is let's help everybody win. We do win-win here. We want the clients to win. We want our companies to win. We want our sales folks to win. And in order to make that happen, the approach we take here is this, is what best serves them, even if they're buying less or they're buying a more less expensive product. What serves them best? and then everybody's winning. And that's really the value system here. Does that sound like something you can do? Because at the moment, I can see you're coming at it from another perspective, perhaps in the value system your last company had. But again, I'm not pointing at him, there's this, you're a bad boy, or a bad girl. That's not what this is about. This is a value system that may have worked in the last company, but it's different here. Does that work for you? Because I think in the long run, not only do you feel better about yourself, but you recognize you've got the ability to make this world a better place and make this company excel because our reputation spreads because of our support for our people. And really work with him or her to look at, do they believe that they can do it in our value system? Because if not, I don't want them to go against who they've chosen to become, and working here is going to do that for them more and more. So how can we both win?
Well, I like that a lot. Before we dive into the best leadership experience, I think that emulates just that. In fact, it reminds me of I had a similar conversation with Chris Whitehead of Iconic Movement. He's got a podcast. That's the podcast name. He's awesome. And I asked him a very similar question. He gave a very similar answer. In that if we're helping people remain accountable to the values we've established for the company, right? We're pointing at the values, not at the person.
Right.
Then that helps us have those conversations and make sure that we're all accountable to practicing those virtues or values together. And I heard you basically reflect that with, that's not the company's style. And when we're small as a company, like right now, it's pretty easy for me to make sure I don't bring somebody into the company that doesn't honor our values because I'm involved in the HR processes. But when you get into companies where you've got 20 employees, 40 employees, 100 employees and beyond, there's certainly more opportunity for people, excuse me, to be able to enter in that may have nodded their head and checked all the boxes the way they needed to in order to get a job, because they might need a job, not realizing, oh my, it's very hard to belong in and work in and have an exciting, fun experience, good experience at work when you don't correlate with the existing values. So
Right.
Thank you for that. That's been on my mind a lot lately. I didn't mean to skip that. So moving into best leadership experience, what is your best leadership experience ever?
Oh, goodness. I think with one of my companies, I have formed 5 companies at this point. And with one of my companies, I had 63 positions on my payroll. And I say positions versus people because some of my folks had their full-time jobs, but I had a school I founded, the Institute of Healing Arts and Sciences, and they may have been teaching at the school. So that was a 1099 position in addition to their full-time position with my company. And what I did is every time we had a phenomenal year, everybody got a raise or a bonus. And it allowed me to feel that we truly are a team. And what it did for them is recognize we truly are all in this together. That it's about all of us winning. And for me, I loved that part of it, when I could share all of it, when I could say, we did a great job. Yeah, it's my company, but without all of them doing what they did, we wouldn't have had the massive enrollment we had. We wouldn't have had the massive successes that we had. And there's no way I could have done any of that by myself. So it was all of us together. And that to me fed me and fed them and created a community, because that's how I saw it, because we are one huge community.
That's so mad. That's you living and implementing Start With Why.
Yeah.
With your team, right? Mm-hmm. I think there's so many small business owners that think, what's the least amount I can pay you? They don't say it like that.
Yeah.
They say, how much is this going to cost? Translation: what's the least amount I can pay your company to support and serve us? That's the literal translation of that phrase, right? That is small business mindset limitations, right? Versus what you were doing was looking at, okay, when we win, we're going to look at everybody's needs. We're going to look at everybody's wants. All right, we're gonna plan out in advance what types of rewards everybody's going to get for helping contribute to this thing we call work. Right? Work is hard. It's not easy.
Yeah, and we're all in this together. What I also did with my full-time employees, I offered medical coverage, dental coverage, and 401k match. So if they were contributing to the 401k, a percentage of what they gave, I added to that package, because to me, I wanted my people to have a great quality of life.
Yep.
And how can I help them do that?
As an employee in that situation, if I don't receive that, I'm going to be daydreaming on LinkedIn at all sorts of job opportunities, because there are over 1 million opportunities out there where
Right.
those types of benefits are being provided. So as small business owners, if we want to win and inspire a team to work, passionately to build our visions with us, we have to look at that and say, are we truly competitive in the landscape? Are we constantly acting out of desperation and putting our team members in a position of desperation? That's a recipe for disaster.
Right.
Compared to what you said, which is, again, honor the employees, honor the team members, make sure they're empowered to perform at their best. Naturally, you'll get the best results out of that. So well said.
Right. And they're committed to you and the company because they know it's a community. They're in this. We're all in this together. Yeah.
Yeah, it's huge. And it's not about people belonging to you either, visionaries. It's about people wanting to belong with you
Right.
in this environment. So it's by mutual desire. So if this is the last opportunity, Dr. Dorothy, the last one to share a powerful lesson, what powerful lesson can other visionaries learn from your experience?
That it is so important to stay aware of that why. It is so important not to get so focused on success that you forget why you founded the company in the first place. And too many, they look back and they say, but I miss most of the early days. Because in the early days, there was fun, there was passion, there was creativity. In the early days, there was the excitement of growing the business. And they become so successful. And I love my bias here. I love entrepreneurial work. I let them all be highly successful. But when they become so successful that all they focus on is success, they've lost sight of the price they're paying for that success. Because when you lose sight of your passion and your vision, whether you're making 100,000 or 100 million, if you're in struggle and just working to get there, wherever there is, you've missed it. You lost it. You lost sight of not only who you were, but why you were doing what you were doing. And to me, life is about, as I said earlier, it's an adventure. It takes passion. It takes vibrancy. It takes aliveness. It takes being fed emotionally and spiritually every day. What am I doing? And some days you're fed massively emotionally and spiritually, and some days you're fed a little. But as long as you're fed, you remember why you're doing what you're doing, and you can't wait to get up and do it again tomorrow. It isn't, oh God, I've got to go into work tomorrow.
Right. Absolutely. The quote, I'm going to pull that up here, what you said. And you talk about staying aware of your why. So let's dive in a little bit to that, because I think that, again, your powerful lesson is, in essence, one of the greatest ways to empower leaders to, so that your impact's expanded for a better world. When you say stay aware, every 6 months, every 6 years, every 6 minutes?
As a way of life. As a way of life.
As a way of life.
It is not something, if I go through my notes, I'm going to remember. It is who I am.
Aren't a lot of people's whys in their drawer?
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess it's on Google Drive now, or I guess people use Dropbox too.
That's so sad. That is so sad.
Yeah.
At any point, whether it's at night when I'm having a glass of wine or a cup of tea, or in the middle of a meeting, why do I do what I do? I can give you the answer. I may use different words, but I'm giving you the same message.
Right. Right.
That,
And we might have more than one why too.
yeah, that's
There's
it.
room for that. It's, what it reminds me of too is I think one of the greatest reasons. I know finances are the reason that marriages fail. Finances are a part, but I think that what is telling to me, having been through 2 divorces myself, and seeing different qualities of marriage, my marriages were not a product of people who did not care. Perhaps we cared too much. Right? There's a balance to be had, on how you go about things. But I see so many people whose marriages are dead, and it's easy to see that the marriage, like the relationship, the feeling, the why behind it's dead,
Hmm.
because when you ask them, how did you first meet? And they go, oh, we met over here.
Yeah.
You know, like the fireworks are gone. They're extinguished. There is no firework left in that relationship. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh. It's more of that pseudo bulbar effect of
Right.
like laugh instead of cry. Because we I don't think people want that deadness of
No.
their story, but we lose sight of it. So how do you move your why into your life in a way that it becomes a way of life? Let's talk about that for a few minutes, unless you feel there's another topic you want to talk about from power.
No, that's perfectly fine because it's such an important one.
Yeah.
How you do it is, as I said earlier, I believe every one of us is born with a spiritual purpose. And when you follow that, you know what feeds you. And what feeds me is when somebody says, I never thought of that. You're right.
Mm.
I feel so excited or so free when that registers. It's what I've done is giving them permission. Do they need mine? No, but they thought they did. Permission to come alive again. And when I see that, oh my God, that somebody just woke up, somebody just came alive and thought, oh wow. And then I know they're now ready to go back and live their journey. They were surviving. They are now ready to go back and start living. So when I see that happening, whether it's through a monthly program I do through Zoom and LinkedIn, or it is a private client or somebody when I'm speaking on stage, it doesn't matter to me. When I see that, it just makes me so alive. That feeds my soul
Yeah.
when somebody else comes alive
Gets it.
again. And because of who I am, it happens frequently throughout the day.
Yes.
So it's like, why do I do this? That's why I do this. That's why I do this. Because somebody just said, oh, and they laugh and say, oh my God, you saw me. Yeah, I did.
Mm.
Because I choose to see you. I
That's
choose to see your soul. I choose to see your heart. You
I
know?
love that.
Yeah.
That is powerful as a way of life. I mean, I think each of us as visionaries, most of us have learned concepts similar to this or part of this. And our opportunity is to take a little note for ourselves. What in your heart and your mind, as you listen to this, as you listen to Dr. Dorothy share examples and me share examples, what do you know about yourself that you can do to further activate the why in your life? What can you do to empower your team members to do the same? Is it just asking them about their why? Maybe you've never asked them what their why is. Maybe you don't know, what they care about. Today's a good day to
Yeah.
start that conversation. It is fun to do. I'm going to pull up your website. I'd love for you to tell us about askdrdorothy.com and what you do and how you can help people.
What I do is I work with folks in leadership who have reached a place where they are ready to reassess where they are in their lives. They are ready to reassess what's happening. I have a 10-month program, and in that's solely for women who are ready to take
Oh, just
themselves.
kidding. I
But
get it.
I work privately with men and women. But that is to help them take themselves and their business to the next level, because you can't take your business to the next level if you're not willing to go to the next level, right? The person who had this vision can handle this size company. That size company needs you to have a much larger energetic footprint, a much larger willingness and ability to jump in. And so it's whether it's creating multiple streams of income, whether it's adding another business, whether it is changing your business and doing something completely different. Doesn't matter. You're in transition. I want to help you look at transition as a time to come alive and jump into the next level rather than a time of simply letting go and fear. And with individual clients, it's let's look at what's happening in your life. Because if you're here to follow a dream and truly come alive and really live your life, I want to help you get there.
Awesome. I love
Look
that.
at all of these things. My goodness me.
Yes, I love that. You've got a very strong depth, and your brand, again, it reminds me of the essence of, so StrengthsFinder 2.0 is my absolute favorite assessment.
Yeah.
And granted, it's not fair because you don't know which ones influence the process of getting there, but it is one of the most well put together assessments there is. And your assessment, I went through it and took it, and it's got the essence of on that direction for me. Again, my humble opinion is not
Thank you.
necessarily as important as the mass market of 30,000 people going in, and testing that, seeing what's there. But I can't wait to see you continue to develop that and build it and refine it and see what's there, because I know that when we've talked one-on-one, your identity, like your authenticity, your ability to lead is amazing. It is so
Thank
awesome
you.
to like be with you. And I know, like, okay, I can ask you almost anything about leadership. So far, everything I've asked you about leadership, I'm like, great answer. Oop, learned that too. I wasn't practicing that. Oh, I can change that. Right. I mean, I talk to leaders all day, every day. So to have one who brings something new to the table at this stage is, as often as you do, is quite impressive.
Thank
And
you.
the digital identity is always so hard to establish.
Yeah.
It takes great care and preparation and lots of iterations and optimizations. My effectiveness with somebody one-on-one is completely different than my lead magnet. My lead magnet's garbage compared to, again, being able to talk to a
Right.
professional
Yeah.
one-on-one and get that insight based on questions asked. And someday, my hope is that my materials, your materials, will rise to the StrengthsFinder 2.0 level, the Tony Robbins programs levels, where people just inherently know, wow,
Right.
like I can recommend this to people instantly. So you're on a fantastic track for that. Visionaries who are listening in, you'll be able to access the assessment. You'll be able to access the website, the action steps that Dr. Dorothy recommends people take. You can, of course, reach out to her in your preferred method as well. You can even drop comments, and ask questions in the preferred social media channel of your choice. And we will make sure that she, of course, sees that. Now, we'd invite you to like and subscribe as well to see updates for other leaders. But more importantly, in I think both of our opinions, my favorite action step for you would be to click the button that says "Be Our Guest" and consider sharing your vision publicly. You can do that on my stage. You can, of course, do that on your own. But my hope is to inspire you to tell the world, if you're in an environment where you have people who will support you and uplift you and see the value in what you're striving to accomplish, share that with the world. Come out and talk about what it is you're up to and how it is you're helping people, because that, holding yourself accountable publicly with a proper support structure is one of the greatest catalysts to helping your vision come to fruition. Do you have anything to add to that, Dr. Dorothy, before we close?
It's so beautifully said that we can't do it alone.
Mm.
We truly can't do it alone. And that's the summation of what you just said, is that we need others to bring us. And somebody like you who brings it out and exposes other leaders to other leaders, and your willingness and ability to bring people together to make that happen is a real strength. And it really supports folks, recognizing none of us can do this alone. We can be as independent as could be. I'm extremely independent, but independent is dramatically different than self-sufficient. Nobody is self-sufficient. We
Right.
all, there's a big difference there. And others whether it's accountability partners who let us know when we're going off center here, we're losing ourselves in the process, or we're betraying ourselves. Folks help you because we can betray ourselves with the best of intentions, and a good partner will bring you back and say, "Hey, chickie, you took a left." Whoa, thanks for pointing that out. I was so narrow focused, I lost sight of where I was going. And that's the gift of having people you trust walk beside you and help you get to where you're going.
Wow. You all heard it from Dr. Dorothy on Vision Pros Live. We look forward to seeing you on the next episode, and we can't wait to hear your visions. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye. Thank you for being here today. I'm really happy that you tuned in to Vision Pros Live. I'm looking forward to seeing your reactions as these episodes continue to move forward. This is going to get more and more fun. We'll have more and more engagement as well. We'll invite people to participate in the show. And thank you for giving us your time and attention. Have an